Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? All right. Somebody shout out and let me know what's going on here. Today is Saturday, July the 4th, and it is the first Saturday of the month. It is also part one of Sober Saturday. Part one of Sober Saturday. Please share. Please share and share because I am not quite sure how to do that. All righty, we have about 5 more minutes. Let me see, how can I invite. I'm inviting people, so they should have a thing where you can just invite everybody at one time. And they probably do, I just haven't figured it out. Not yet anyway, I will. It will surely come with experience. Trial by error. All right, we still have a little time. So is everybody doing good this Saturday morning? Can somebody please Uber, DoorDash me a plate of barbecue? Is anybody barbecuing for today? Okay, I think I'm good now. That's enough. All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome to Sober Saturday. I'm going to wait a few minutes and give everyone, I'll give some more people time to log in or sign in or join us, should I say. All right. So you can hear me. And we are ready. I feel like an old lady looking up with these glasses. Well, Bridget, you are. Good morning. Sober Saturdays is something that we will be, or I will be doing all the month of July. It will be every Saturday at noon. You may always go back and rewatch it or share it with others. It's a 4-part series. Today is part 1. And every Saturday there will be a different topic, and things shared for your privacy and protection. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or would like information, you can always message me through Facebook, and I will respond to you individually because I understand and respect everyone's privacy. That's important. But I'm also available for any questions, I'm just waiting to let a few more people come in. And I like to honor time. I like to start on time and end on time. I think about 30 to 45 minutes may be the length of it. No more than an hour, if that long. Just kind of something to give you something to think about. Let you know a little something about me. Some of you know and some of you don't know. Hell, a lot of it I didn't know myself. I am still learning me. Interesting. Okay. Thank you for all my friends and fam who are on watching me live. I'm so excited and a little nervous. I think that's just normal when you're starting something new. And you can always tell when you, or at least I can always tell when I'm on the right track or I'm doing something worthy and worthwhile of my Father's opinion and doing as directed, or as I have been directed and instructed, when I'm being obedient, because things start to get busy. You know, everything that can and will and wants to cut up does, but it doesn't have any power. It's only temporary. And that's what I remember. All right, it's 12 o'clock. I'm ready to get started. Hi, my name is Bridget, and I'm an alcoholic. I am in recovery, and for that, I am forever, and will always be grateful. Addiction. When you say addiction, most of the time, people think, automatically drugs, alcohol, but there are many addictions. You have gambling addictions, shoes, eating, sex, etc., etc. I always heard a friend of mine say, an addiction is an addiction. And plainly put in my mind, and the dictionary is pretty close, but to make it simple, to me, an addiction is something that you cannot control, you cannot do without, and if you do stop doing it, then there are negative consequences that you have to suffer. Alcoholism was my addiction, or should I say is my addiction. When you tell somebody, oh, Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so has cancer, they be like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, I hope they get better. Lord have mercy. They start feeling sorry and praying and carrying on. It's cancer. Oh, I hope they get through it. And they're real supportive. But when you tell somebody that you have alcoholism, the first thing many people say, oh, ain't nothing wrong with them. They'll be all right. They just need to stop drinking. That's kind of what society thinks about it. Another perception that society has is that they look at alcoholics, or they have looked at alcoholics as being someone who's living under a bridge with a brown paper bag and a bottle of Ripple in their hands, drinking and stumbling up and down the street. And that is just not the case. Unfortunately, alcoholism is a disease. And as I've learned, they say it's a dis-ease. It's a dis-ease, a disease. And I have an allergy to alcohol. I'm allergic to it. When people now offer me drinks, I laugh and say, oh, no, I'm allergic to it. And they kind of look at me strange. And I'm like, in my mind, yes, sweetie, I'm allergic to it. Because one drink is too much and a whole bottle is not enough. And that's pretty much how I lived my life for 40 years. For almost 40 years, I drank. Now, I didn't drink every day, but when I did drink, I made up for lost time. And I often laugh when I hear the younger people, generation, say or have said, oh, we're going to get turned up tonight. And I just laugh to myself now and say, honey, please, turned up. I used to get turned up, in, out, around, under, between, over, beneath. I mean, any kind of way you could do it, I did it. And I was good at it for a long time. I drank and had fun. I enjoyed drinking. I love to drink. I love the feeling. I'm the life of the party. the excitement. I just loved it. I enjoyed it. And like I say, I was good at it for a long time. I mentioned earlier that there are 4 steps or 4 stages, in alcoholism. And I'm going to briefly go through those and kind of tell you where I was in each one. The first stage is a pre-alcoholic, and that's considered early use or experimentation. Well, for me, stage 1 was middle school. I started, drinking with my friends at a football game, or I'd go over their house and their parents had alcohol and beer, and we would smoke Marlboro cigarettes. Let you know how long ago that's been. Marlboro cigarettes, and drink Slits Bull or Slits in the with the silver can and the brown on it, or Pabst beer, some old folks beer. We was just drinking and experimenting. Well, for some people, the experiment stage is where it stops. They realize they don't like the taste, or they don't like the effect, or it's just not a good fit for them. That was not me. For me, I continued to drink. And I didn't stay in the experiment stage very long before I realized, yay, I like this. This is old and popping. I can do this. And I rapidly went to stage 2. Stage 2 is early alcoholic or increased use and tolerance. Well, by now I'm in high school, and alcohol is around in my home. My mother was a heavy drinker. My dad was a heavy drinker, and my grandfather was a heavy drinker on my mom's side. Now, it's not my job to tell or say to anyone that you are an alcoholic. Only that person can say that. Just like for me, nobody could tell me I was an alcoholic. I couldn't even tell myself I was an alcoholic, because basically I had no idea. It never crossed my mind that I was an alcoholic, even though my father was a heavy drinker, my mother was a heavy drinker, and my grandfather on my mother's side was a heavy drinker. It just never occurred to me that I would have a drinking problem. Again, I just like to drink, like to party, like to go places and move around and do this and that. And I was good at it. My tolerance was really high. I remember in high school standing out in front of the apartments on Carter Street, catching the 80 bus, going to high school with a cup in my hand. I had some coffee and I had poured me a nice little shot. It didn't necessarily have to be wintertime, so I can't use the excuse that I wanted to stay warm, because I just like drinking. It calmed my nerves, kept me mellow, so I thought. Got to high school, we would go around the store, to the corner store, get some Old English and drink before we start our day. I left school at half a day. I'd go work, and I pretty much was my routine. I drank all through high school. No big deal. Everybody did it. We went to parties and we drank and we had fun, and I was good at it. I have to keep saying that, because nobody ever knew. Again, like I said, I didn't even know I had a problem with alcohol. I just enjoyed it. So this carried me on through, I'm still in stage 2, where I'm building up my tolerance for alcohol. All through college, building up my alcohol. I did graduate from high school, went to college, graduated from college. By now, I'm getting ready to enter into stage 3 of alcoholism. And that is the middle alcoholic or problem drinking stage. I would say I was about maybe 23, 24. And looking back and reflecting on this is where I spent most of my drinking career, in stage 3, where it was a middle alcoholic or problem drinking. Even though, again, I didn't see it as a problem. I drank, I had fun, I'd come home and repeat the process. I worked every day. I was a functioning alcoholic. I had a master's degree, had a career, still have a career, changed career, started a new career, was a mother, did everything that I was supposed to do as a parent, a single parent, but I did it. And thank goodness, one of the things I always have to stress is that God was always right there with me. I didn't appreciate it at the time. I thought I did, but I knew he was there. There was a relationship, some form of relationship and love between the two of us. Because when I look at myself now, I know without a shadow of a doubt that he kept me during those times, because I could have been dead. I guess about 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years, that was my life. Go to work, figure out what I'm going to wear for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, get it all laid out, make sure I have enough alcohol to last me. Because when I got paid, the first thing I did was bought me a bottle of Grand Marnier. Sometimes I would buy me two, depending on what was going on, because I didn't like begging for alcohol. I like to have my own. And if I always wanted to have a backup in case I ran out. I wanted to make sure I had enough for the evening and the next evening. But like I said, I didn't drink every day. But when I did drink on the weekends, I made up for it. And I did that for quite a while. I would drink and, I'd drive home. I'd wake up the next morning and I would run to the garage or run to the parking lot to see if there was any dents in my cars, or where was my car? Where was it parked? If I was missing hubcaps. And I would just remember that sick feeling in my stomach, like, oh my God, I don't remember how I got home. And for a long time, it was like, okay, thank you, Lord, I made it home. And I just took it for granted and continued the process, continued to do what I was doing. I'd be out. I remember getting pulled over numerous times by police and having to call friends, grace, nothing but the grace that they would let me call somebody to come and help me, or they would follow me to the gas station and stay with me until somebody came. I remember one police officer wouldn't let me drive. He made me call a record truck to take my car home. Just nothing but the grace. That's all I can say, is nothing but the grace. And this wasn't a every now and then thing. This was a continuous thing. This was my lifestyle. And I didn't really think anything was wrong with it. I was partying. I was having a good time, but there were a lot of underlying issues that were causing me to act this way that I wasn't even aware of. I didn't start to discover and talk about those things until I got into stage 4 of my alcoholism. But for a long time, I partied, I had a good time. I robbed Paul to pay Peter when it came to my finances. Everything looked good on the outside, but on the inside, I was tore up from the flow up. A lot of people, still, you and that girl, stop. You ain't no alcoholic. And I just have to laugh and say, sweetie, if I don't know anything else, today I know that I'm an alcoholic. And I'm okay with that. I'm really grateful to be an alcoholic. My sobriety date is November 25th, 2017. And that's the day that I was given a second opportunity to learn how to live life. Because when you are in the midst of any addiction, alcoholism included, you don't, what you present yourself as may not necessarily be who you really are. And that within itself was a process. So it's stage 3, middle alcoholic, problem drinking. I'm still partying, having a good time. I'm from the cowboy circuit. I like to say the live horses to the steel horses. I went from anywhere where it was a party and I could get in and fit in and look good doing it. That's where Bridget was. And that's where I stayed. And that was a long road. I remember getting a PI, public intoxication. I wasn't driving. I was on the side of the road. Okay, it happens. No big deal. Then I got a DWI. But even with that, I was still blessed with the finances to be able to pay for all of that, because that comes with a hefty price tag, etc., etc. Still hadn't dawned on me that I had a drinking problem. I just, everybody, that's what I did. Everybody knew Bridget. She gonna party, she gonna have a good time, she gonna drop it like it's hot and dance and just have a ball. Then, I don't know, I was diagnosed with a liver problem. And of course, you something go wrong with your health, you get scared and you start making all these promises. Lord, if you heal me, I ain't gonna never do this no more, and blah, blah, blah. You know the story, or at least if you don't, you've heard of people who do. Well, that was mine. I was diagnosed with a liver problem. Ironically, it was not from my drinking. It was something separate, but my drinking did not help. So, of course, I cold turkeyed and stopped drinking and did this and did that. And after a while, I felt like I was out of harm's way and my health was getting better. It went into remission. And, of course, I went right on back to my same routine, because when you hear someone say, I want help and I want to stop drinking or doing this or doing that, they really mean it at the time that they say it. But saying it and meaning it and going through the process to make it happen, that's a whole nother story. And I wasn't there yet. So I continued to party and live life and have a great time. And I'm still working, teacher of the year. I'm doing everything, still living life. I think this is the norm. This is what you do as a single person. You party, you have a good time, and you enjoy life. You travel, you go here and there. You don't just party locally, you go anywhere there's a party. I catch a plane in a minute and get somewhere and get toasted up. Having a blast. Alcohol, looking back, alcohol was such a big part of my life. I drank when I was happy. I drank when I was upset. I drank when I was mad. The only time I didn't do a lot of drinking is when I was by myself. Now, if I'm at home, which was very seldom because I didn't like being by myself, I wasn't going to stay in the room in four walls too long unless I was asleep. So if I came home after work and poured me a drink and I wasn't going anywhere, usually when I woke up the next morning, that drink was still there. Very seldom. But anything else, it was a routine. If I'm going somewhere, I'm going to have a good 2 or 3 drinks before I get there. Have one in my purse, one in a flask in my bosom, because I believed in packing my liquor. I wasn't going to spend all my money at the bar. Lies we tell, because I did. And spent everybody else's money too. Anybody that was willing to be a sponsor, honey, I spent their money too. I was an equal opportunity drinker. I wasn't prejudiced to say, oh no, you can't buy me a drink. Everybody could buy a drink. Hell, it even got to the point where when I walked through the front of the club, by the time I got to the bar, the bartenders already had my double shot of Grand Marnier there waiting for me. So I stayed in stage 3, which was a problem drinking, for a long time. And by the last 5 or 6 years, maybe 7, give or take, I started to realize, why am I always the only one that either can't remember everything from last night, or I have a fog memory, or I'm still partying when the lights is on, or people's ready to go and I'm not quite done yet? Or I leave and go to the after hour club and party till 5, till daybreak. You know, it just kind of, little things start to kind of pique my attention. And I started to notice my behavior change. My body changed first. I lost a lot of weight. And my body could no longer, because when I was in stage 3, which was the problem drinking, I could drink Grand Marnier. I could drink anything. I could mix and drink stuff, white liquor, brown liquor, Schlitz malt liquor, bull, shots of tequila, 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor. You know, I could drink and hold it. And you would never know that I was intoxicated until I sit down. And once I would sit down, it was like I was out, like a light. And anybody that I rode with, you know, unfortunately, God, thank you for your grace. And I was driving, I would make it home. Sometimes, one episode, I remember making it home and falling asleep in my driveway. And just so happened, car still running. It's 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Grace, my son came home and found me. Now, when we talk about addictions, you know, it not only affects you, but it affects your family as well. So my son was an eyewitness of seeing me go through this. And for a long time, he probably thought it was the norm. That's just what people do, because this is what my mom does. She's still a great provider. She has a job, you know, she's able to, etc., etc., etc. But it wasn't right. It wasn't correct. It wasn't done right. There were always things holding me back and holding me hostage. And my mind was so much chaos and clutter. And, you know, I'm just trying to figure it out, just running around in circles, chasing my tail, you know, trying to figure out what in the world is going on, but still being blessed. You know, I'm grateful for that. When I made it to stage 4 is late alcohol addiction or alcohol use disorder. I've often heard in the rooms of AA that alcohol, and I believe this, that alcohol is cunning, baffling, and powerful. It is a aggressive and progressive disease. It moves and works with people differently. For me, it gradually, and it may have even, because I'm thinking I'm hiding something. I'm thinking that I have it all together and nobody can tell. And maybe nobody couldn't. Or maybe they started to see it before I believed it and accepted it myself. When I got to stage 4 is when I started to realize, something different about you and your drinking. You get a little too turned up. When people say they have to go to work and they say they're going to have a few drinks, they have a few drinks. I would tell myself that, and I would drink until it was time to go and then try to get the alcohol out of my system before I get to work. Or better yet, I would just call in sick. Get us up. You know, I can't make it today. I'm hungover. Yeah. I started to notice that I did not like what I saw myself. First, I had to recognize what I saw. You know, drop dead gorgeous. You know, flawless, queen quality material when I would start off. And pretty much in the evening or the end of the night, I would look like that as well. But I always would have that drunk look, to say it nicely. You know, intoxicated, you done had too much to drink, and others can see it. But I wasn't aware of it. It really didn't make me a difference because I was doing what Bridget wanted to do and I was enjoying it. I started to notice when my body could not handle the alcohol or the amount of alcohol that I had put in my body for so many years. You know, I could drink. I'm not going to say drink because that sounds so ladylike and proper. I could drink. with the best of them, and have a good time. And then all of a sudden, it kind of changed. I couldn't drink as much as I used to. My body couldn't hold it, but my mind still continued to do it. So now I'm at the blackout stage, or where I'm drinking so much. And I apologize for the noise. That's my lawn man. He's right on time. I began to notice that my body physically could not handle the amount of alcohol. That was my first thing. And then I started to wake up the next morning and not remember everything that happened. I would, even after my DWI, I still drank. I remember even still drinking and having the thing on my car. And, this is the lies we tell ourselves. Well, I'm just going to go down here to this spot and I'm going to drink till about 10 and then I'm going to stop and I'll be able to blow and go home. Well, the problem with that is when you're an alcoholic, one drink is too much and a whole bottle is not enough. I don't have a stopping point. Once that alcohol touches my lips, I'm going to drink until I get enough. Period. And nobody tells me when to get enough. I don't even know when I get enough. I just drink until I can't drink anymore. But even with that, I started to notice my body just could not hold the alcohol. Because I never would eat. This is my philosophy. This is my mindset. I'm thinking, oh, no, I ain't going to eat. I done worked too hard to get my buzz and get my drunk on. I done drunk all these drinks. I'm finna keep my buzz going for as long as I can. Let the parties begin. So I wouldn't eat anything on my stomach. I would eat afterwards sometimes. And I never really suffered with hangovers. Maybe once or twice a year I'd have that throw your guts up type of hangover. But for the most part, I would just get up the next morning and roll. And then I started to notice that I call it my bounce back time, was longer and longer and longer. I couldn't just go and party and wake up the next morning and choom, I'm off to work like a regular day. It would take me a while to get myself going. And seems like the alcohol would stay in my system. But I'm still functioning, guys. I'm still working. I'm still making what I thought was great moves in my career, etc., etc. But I'm still struggling with alcoholism. Well, I continued to do this and I noticed things about myself changing and I found myself in compromising positions. And I would listen to my friends and they would be talking about stuff that we did the night before, just laughing, girl talking, nothing, and I would be just on the other phone listening, waiting. And once I would hear something that kind of reminds me of something or triggers a thought, then I would chime in and try to make it sound like I knew what they were talking about. When in reality, I didn't have a clue because I ain't remembered nothing that happened. And if I did, it was so foggy, it didn't count. It was just very vague. And I went through that stage for a really long time, before I was like, okay, wait a minute, maybe you need to kind of check into this. Well, I'm about 30 years in now, about 31, 32. Because I started drinking when I was 16, maybe even earlier, 14, 15, somewhere along up in there. And I went to a friend of mine who's a holistic doctor. And she had given, done an evaluation and told me basically the same thing that the doctors had told me, that all of my organs were under stress and, I needed to basically stop the lifestyle that I was living or I was going to kill myself. Well, of course, being scared again, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to ever drink again and I'm just going to stay home and, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I did. And that lasted, I don't know, maybe 6 months, 8 months, because, everywhere you go, you could even go to Chuck E. Cheese and they have beer there. So it was like alcohol was always around. People drank to celebrate. People drank because they were upset. People drank because they're happy. you know, alcohol is always going to be around. So in my mind, I thought that if I didn't go around alcohol, that I wouldn't have that problem. Well, this is when my disease starts to go oops upside the head. Because now in my drinking career, I'm at a point where I'm blacking out or I'm zoned out. I'm physically sitting there, but I look like a zombie because I've had way too much to drink. And really it wasn't too much to drink. It's just now that my body is letting me know I can no longer hold this much alcohol. This is a problem for me. So I would have 1 or 2 drinks and I would just be out of there. But in my mind, oh, I used to could go. I used to could put them down. So I'm going to keep drinking because that's what I'm used to. And then it wasn't fun anymore. It was like I was out of there. You know, alcoholism is a disease, people. It's a disease. Our medical society does not necessarily say or agree that it's a disease, but it is. It will kill you. Period. So I kept drinking. And it was getting pretty bad. Nobody knew about this. It didn't look like it on the outside because this is what you saw. But on the inside and behind the doors, you know, it was just frightening to know that I was doing all of these things. I remember leaving a club, Times Square, over off in Harlem Clark, and I was driving home. Well, some kind of way, I ended up in the back of Rosenberg, in a parking lot, late at night, drunk. Could not find my way home. Think it was kind of raining, or it had rained. So I'm like, okay, let me just sit here and get my bearings together, you know. And I called my son, and him and his friends, they looking for me. I'm trying to give them a description, and they way over there in the woodlands. Lord have mercy. Looking for me, and I'm over there in the back of Rosenberg sleep. And then when I wake up, you know, I'm still intoxicated. But I'm not just to the point where I can't kind of look around and figure out and see, you know, something and try to get my bearings together. And I kind of say, well, I came back from that way, so we don't need to go that way. Something says go right. And I kept driving right, and I ended up on 59. And I'm like, Lord have mercy. And I just never will forget the look in my son's eyes when I got home and he saw me and he laid eyes on me. It was just like, yeah, it was frightening, but unfortunately it still was not enough to stop me from drinking. I still continue to drink. I remember drinking coming from, I had a SUV, and I remember, I don't know what it was about Richmond and Rosenberg, but I ended up on a train track, stuck. My truck would not go over the train track. Now, how I got there, I'll never tell you. I was coming from a party. I'm trying to get home, intoxicated. And just so happened, a gentleman who lived like, his house was in the back of the railroad track, came out, and he was an older gentleman, and he was like, well, I can't help you get off, but I can pull the switch down to stop the train so it'll know that it doesn't need to come this far. There's something going on to keep it from coming. Call somebody. Hello, I'm stuck on the railroad track. Can you please come help me? It's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Got home. Went to sleep, woke up the next morning, tried to trace my steps. Tried to figure out how I got there. Couldn't remember. Still didn't stop me from drinking though. You know, I still kept on drinking. Then finally, the November in 2017, Thanksgiving was Thursday. Friday, me and two friends and we went out to have drinks. I hadn't been out. I had moved to Katy. By this time, I had kind of figured out by 2017, 2016, it's something wrong with you. You got some problems. You need to, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And I had started going to therapy adamantly, monthly, weekly, twice a month, and talking with my therapist. And she was study feeding into me. You need to stop drinking. I would tell her about situations. Some situations I wouldn't tell her about, but she still knew. Because I was not ready to stop drinking. I had not come to my rock bottom. At this point, I'm doing things and seeing myself in a way that I've never seen myself. I started to think, you're intelligent, you're educated, you're a gorgeous woman. Get yourself together and stop this foolishness. These are the things that I told myself, but telling myself didn't do any good because I still continued to do them. It was really hard to come to terms and say, Bridget, you got a problem and you need to fix it. And it took me 38, 39 years before that happened. But the last straw, all people say the straw that broke the camel's back. I went out with two of my friends. Again, this is 2017. It's in November. I've been in Katy about 2 years now. I've slowed my roll down tremendously because I'm not driving way back over to Houston to party like that. And I've started to get used to my own company. Some of the friends that I used to keep, I don't keep anymore at this time. I've kind of slowed and just kind of pulled back, but I still would drink from time to time. And every time I would drink, I would still have that same problem. Once I started, it was on and popping. I didn't have a limit. Again, one drink is too much and a whole dang bottle is not enough once I got started. So, I would tell myself things like, well, just take $20 with you because you can only get 2 Grand Marniers and, you'll cut your evening off. Well, that didn't work because, of course, I always had my credit card and there was always sponsors to buy drinks. And I would drink 2 doubles in 20 minutes with a shot of Patron. And then I'm off to the races. So this Friday, I'm with my girls. I'm like, okay, these are 2 sensible ladies. One doesn't drink. The other one barely drinks. So I'm good. Well, we get to the first stop. I have 2 doubles. I don't even think they know I had 2 doubles. I had 1 drink with them, went to the restroom, stopped at the bar and got another shot, which was really 2 doubles, and drunk it before I got back to the table. Because by now the alcohol has hit my lips and the disease is taking control. And then we saw an old friend, they started buying drinks. So totally, I've had like 7 drinks in 45 minutes. So we get to the next stop and I'm just out of there. I'm physically sitting, looking drop dead gorgeous, but I'm just zoned totally out. And I never stumbled in my first 30 years. That sounds like yay, but it's really not. I didn't really started stumbling and looking like I was drunk until I got to stage 4, because by now that is, that last stage where it's just out of control and I'm not able to control or hide it anymore. We came on home. That was a Friday night. When I woke up that Saturday morning, my thought pattern, nothing but the grace. It was like, real simple. If you don't stop doing this, if you don't stop this drinking, You know, this is your profession, your side gig, whatever. If you don't stop this, you're going to kill yourself, or you're going to kill somebody, or you're going to end up in an institution. Those were my options. And when I heard that voice on the inside of me, I was like, okay, I'm done. And I had a real scary feeling. You know, I was like, you know, all type of thoughts ran through my mind, like, how will I live life? What are people gonna think? How will I be able to enjoy life because I'm not gonna drink anymore? And we were supposed to go to another really nice party that night. So I called my friends and I told them, and I physically felt bad. You know, I was embarrassed. And I talked to one of my friends and she was like, you know, man, I ain't never seen you like that. You know, we've been friends for years and I've seen you party and I've partied with you. But what I saw last night, man, that's pretty rough right there. And I was like, yeah, I know. And so I told them that I no longer wanted to drink and I wanted to stop. And being the friends that they are, and that's one thing that I'm really blessed with, is a great family and friends support system, because they always encourage me and support me and they were always there. So they came over and they did like an intervention and we talked and we cried. And one of my friends, she told me, she was like, because I was like, well, I'm just going to stop drinking until I can get it under control. And then once I get it under control, I'll be okay. And I remember her telling me, sweetie, once you can't give yourself an out. Once you say you're going to stop drinking, that's it. That's what you stand by. That's what you live by. And that's what you do, because you cannot give yourself an out. You can't say, oh, I'm going to stop drinking and then once I get myself together, I'll be okay. I'm an alcoholic in recovery. And it doesn't work like that for us. You know, I started the process. You know, I talked to her and she gave me some really great ideas and things that I could do, you know. And it's been a journey, and it will continue to be a journey. This is not a destination. You don't just get sober and then miraculously you stay sober for the rest of your life. I have to put the work in every day. Every day. Every day. I have to wake up and ask God to let me have another day without drinking. And when I close my eyes, I thank him for giving me that day without drinking. So I think that may be enough. I don't know where you guys are. You're probably tired of me going on and rambling. I will say, if you have questions or concerns or comments or anything that you'd like to ask, please, you can message me. And I will respond to you individually, because I respect your privacy. I understand that. And everybody is not as outspoken as I am. A lot of my friends say, oh, Bash, you not ashamed to talk about it? I was like, girl, please. If I wasn't ashamed of some of the stuff I did when I was drinking, I would stand on a mountaintop with a megaphone and talk about alcoholism. Because unfortunately in our society, I think it's one of the most undiscussed diseases out there. You know, there are some people who can drink and don't have a problem with alcohol, but there are many of us that do. And we need to talk about it. If you've been going to your family events for 20 years and Uncle so-and-so and Aunt so-and-so, every time you turn around, they bobbing and weaving and drunk, or have had too much to drink, and everybody say, oh, that's okay, they just had a little bit too much to drink, and they kind of sweep it up under the carpet. No, there needs to be a discussion. But unfortunately, nobody else can tell somebody that they're an alcoholic. I would never do that because first of all, that's not my job. You know, nobody could tell me. I had to come to terms and say to myself that I am an alcoholic. And once I admitted that, it was like a lot of weight was relieved from me once I admitted that I was an alcoholic. And to this day, I still laugh because I'm like, how did you not know, Bridget, that you were an alcoholic? You come from your DNA. It's in your bloodline. People in your family on both sides love to drink and party and bob and weave, etc., etc. How did you not know? But I will tell you that alcohol was not the problem. Alcohol was the solution to a whole bunch of other problems. Alcohol is a mere symptom. And as I continued to walk the road of recovery, I learned new things about myself every day. Things that I thought I liked when I was in the midst and active in my disease, I am totally opposite. I don't have to be in a big crowd. I could care less about a big crowd. I don't want to be around all them people. First of all, my knees is bad and I can't do a whole lot of running if something pop off, and I'm just uncomfortable. You know, I don't mind a medium size, but it's just amazing. And the difference in who I am. Only God. Jehovah God is my primary source for recovery. And during this COVID-19, when I couldn't get to an AA meeting in the building to sit with people who are like me and have the discussions to uplift and build me, I had to stick with God. I mean, I had to get closer and lean into him. You know, I had to snuggle up under him and get in where I fit in so I could continue my road of recovery. Because, you know, of course, you've heard the alcohol sales are tremendously high during this time. They've doubled or tripled. When we meet again, I'll have the numbers for you. But AA is my secondary. Jehovah God is my primary source for staying sober. Again, if you have questions, you can always message me through Facebook. I will respond to you individually. I'll stop here. Part 2 next week will be about recovery and what recovery looks like. It's beautiful, guys. I thought I was living a life drinking and partying and having a good time and being here and being there and doing this, that, and the others. But I'm grateful for being an alcoholic. I'm grateful, even more grateful, that God saved me. Because when I say that he removed the taste from my lips, I've never had the taste for alcohol again. Now, in this little mind, that's a different story. That's part 2. When that mind starts playing tricks on you, you know, and you think, because it's routine, you know, every break, every holiday, every weekend almost, you know, it's go get some drinks, you know, go happy hour, unwind, you know, etc., etc. It's a routine. But I had to unlearn a lot of things and learn new things. And that's been the saving grace for my recovery. But and AA is a good program. I love AA. There are other ways, other styles of recovery, other methods of recovery. AA is not the only one. There are many others. But everything that I say and talk about is what has worked for me. I can't talk about anybody else's recovery because everybody's different. And I remember a friend of mine telling me that you're going to have your treatment plan will have to be personalized just for you. And that's what it has been. Being an alcoholic gave me a second chance to come back and fix Bridget. figure out what's going on with Bridget, dig through the layers of stuff that had been packed and pushed and trodden and packed up neatly and pushed and stuck and packed up neatly and pushed and stuck. And I had an opportunity to go and dig all that stuff out. And when I started to dig all of that stuff out and take responsibility for what my part is, because I always had a part in it, whether it was done to me unfairly or I did it to myself, I still had a part in it. And once I started doing those things, my life has increased tremendously, guys. I can't begin to tell you. Continue to be supportive of family and friends, of people who struggle with drinking. They need that. Having compassion for them and letting them come around in their own time is imperative, because again, nobody can tell anybody that you're an alcoholic. That person has to figure that out for themselves. So let's see. Yes, I am living my truth. I remember someone saying that when I first heard someone say, I'm a grateful alcoholic. And I was like, grateful? Well, I don't know about all that. But now I understand, because being an alcoholic has given me, the Bible is one book. And that's the main book. That's where my principles and everything that God expects us to do is outlined in there. Every problem, every situation, everything that we need. Those are our rules and regulations and our procedures and his principles that we live by. But when he abled Bill W. to write the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, that became my second love letter, because what I may have missed in the Bible became evident to me. Alcohol Anonymous is 85 years old last month. I think it was last month in June. But that book was wrote, and it reads as if it was written for me last night, because the same thing that is written 85 years ago is the same thing that we struggle with today. So, let me see. Thank you for everybody who has participated. If you want me to talk about or focus in on something specifically, thank you. Sobriety looks good on you. I feel great. I really do. I feel better than I thought I was living a life before sobriety and recovery, because but I really wasn't. I was just living, I was just going through the motions. This is what life is supposed to be like. We say in AA, life on life's terms. Nothing is going to stop. You're still going to have the trials and tribulations, but how I react to it. Because even though, and I'll keep saying this, I didn't drink every day, but because I had an alcoholism mindset, the way I reacted to everything was all not so good. Sometimes worse than others. But even in the midst of it, guys, God kept me. That's the only reason I'm still alive. Because I've drove drunk so many times, I don't have enough hairs on my body to count them. And I know that was the only thing that kept me, was God's grace and his guardian angel that covered and protected me. Because I remember my first time driving home sober, I must have called everybody, girl, guess what? I know which way I'm driving home. And I was like, and for a minute they really didn't catch it. And then I explained it to them, and of course they got as excited about it as I was. But that was a big thing to me. I went out, had some fun with some friends, danced, had a mocktail, non-alcoholic drink, and still had fun and was able to drive home. That was major to me. Like, oh my God, I'm living this. The Lord bless and says the same. In November of this year, I'll have 3 years. So it's been a journey. I'm excited to continue to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining in. Anybody have any questions you'd like for me to answer now? Yes, God is incredible. Thank you. Anybody have anything you'd like for me to answer or go over? I don't want to be too long. Oh, wow. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you. Part 2 is next Saturday at noon. And I will discuss with you what recovery looks like. The process. As I stated before, recovery is a journey. It is not a destination. I've had people ask me, well, will you always go to them AA meetings? And I kind of laughed and say, yeah, till the day I die. I will always be active in my disease, active in fighting my disease, because alcohol is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And it's just waiting for the opportunity to be like, yeah, I'm waiting on you. And as soon as you slip, it's going to be oops upside the head. Let me make up for lost time and show you who's really in control. And I used to be afraid of that. But I was told not to be afraid of it. You can be concerned, but you don't have to be afraid of it, because I know whose I am. And I know who has kept me through COVID-19. And I know who kept me when I didn't even have enough sense to know what my disease was. So for that, I'm forever grateful. I'm trying to look and see if I have any questions. How do you feel about therapy for children of alcoholic dependent parents? I think it is wonderful. There is also a program called Al-Anon. And there's also an Al-Anon. Al-Anon is a program for adults and young teens who are a family member is an alcoholic. Like, for instance, my son, Marquel, he could go to Al-Anon and go through a program for free. And it would help him work through the issues of learning and watching his mom be an alcoholic, because he still has things, or may have things, that he needs to work out. There's also another program called Al-Teen that works strictly with teenagers for the same thing, that has a parent or a sibling or a loved one who is an alcoholic. And I can shoot you some of those links, and you can get information there. Yeah, because I heard in a conference, in an AA conference, for every one alcoholic, there should be 6 people in Al-Anon. So when you think about an alcoholic and you think about the people that they've harmed or caused distress because of their disease, then yes, those people may need to get counseling. You know. Okay, I'm checking to see anything else. All right, I think that's it. I love you guys. Yay, thank you. See you soon. Next Saturday, same bat channel, same bat station. 12 o'clock next Saturday, Sober Saturdays. The courageous conversation will continue. Thank you.